This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Bryan Driscoll, and I have Cody Barton with us. What's going on, Cody?
Bryan, so good to be here. How are you doing?
Hanging in there, you know. Hey, so Cody's kind of a beast down in Phoenix. Hey, Cody, why don't you give us a little background on what you're up to down there?
Yeah, definitely. So, like Bryan said, my name is Cody Barton. I'm here in the Phoenix, Arizona market. I guess it's like the guru capital of the world, but this is where myself and my business partner, Pace Morby, are located. And, we do the gamut of, a lot of different things in real estate. We'll wholesale properties. We do fix and flips. We do buy and hold for long-term rentals. We do, buy and hold for Airbnb. And we have a few other businesses as well. We're a little bit, vertically integrated where, we also own a title company here in Arizona that we run all of our files through. So a lot of different stuff, I guess.
Yeah, you got a lot going on there. So yeah, and it's tough juggling all that stuff. Like, how'd you get into this?
Yeah. So, it all kind of started with the wholesaling part of the business because originally, I'm 27 now. But when I was 21, I got my real estate license, worked as a realtor for a couple of years. I got my real estate license because I'm like, I want to invest in real estate. And so I spent a couple of years just working for clients, helping them buy and sell. And I never really even bought any properties except my own personal residence. A couple of years of that, I'm like, you know what? This isn't the thing for me. I need to actually invest. And so I kind of cut the tie with the working with clients and went full in on wholesaling. And within about a year of doing that, Pace and I linked up and, from wholesaling, we, stacked, money doing that, started flipping, started holding, and started, really everything else that we have. But the foundation was wholesaling from the beginning.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. Yeah. Especially because you're 27, you're pretty young. Like I'm 40, I'm turning on 42. So I wasn't doing anything like what you're doing when you're back at 27. So you got a heads up on everybody or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah. I think the thing is too, is like, it just, for people that are, anyone that may be in their 20s listening to this, it's like, you got to choose what you want to focus on in your life. And for me, I really wanted to be financially free in my 20s and, to get to 30 and have a lot more choices. Because I think, Bryan, I think where a lot of people, they get into real estate, they want to make a lot of money or whatever that, reason may be. And for me, it was always, how can I just get to financially free? And I saw in the, 08, 09, crash, I saw my family kind of, lose everything, from living in a big house with quads and jet skis and all the toys to no toys. The toys are gone. We're moving. We don't live there anymore. And everything is scary around money. And I think that had a big effect on me where I'm like, I do not ever want to experience that when I am, when I'm older. So I'm like, I got to do things, when I'm young to set myself up.
Like, how do you determine what you're going to do with the property when you find it? Are you cherry picking the ones you guys want to keep and then flipping and then wholesaling just the overflow, or what are you guys doing?
Yeah. So for us, it's, we cherry pick, we pick the best ones out of everything. We try to see, can we turn this into a rental or an Airbnb and make that deal make sense? Like that's our first thing we try to do. And then secondary, if we, if those just don't make sense, if it's just too much money that would have to get stuck in a deal, we will fix and flip it. And then if we're just like, this is a bad area of town that we just don't want to hold in and we don't want to flip in, or maybe it's a little bit further out and our crews that are going to go work on the project don't really love driving to that area and kind of give us a hard time. We'll typically wholesale those. So we kind of look at it as, we're trying to buy and hold as much as we can. But if we can't do that, fix and flip to, save that capital to be able to invest in more buy and holds. And then otherwise, just anything that we don't want in our buy box, we're going to, sell that off. And, I think that's something that, people have to establish is like, what is your buy box? What will you buy and what will you not buy? So you're not just out there buying random stuff. Cause that's something that we've really got down over the last, 6-12 months is creating that buy box of what we actually want to be holding in our portfolio versus, selling off to other buyers.
You know what? That's such a good point you bring up there too. Like me, I only invest in one zip code. Like I know exactly what I'm looking for. and that's all I want to own. Like, so people, whenever you're getting into it, figure out what you want and then try to build that portfolio versus just taking everything. Cause then you're just going to have a whole bunch of stuff, like a whole bunch of properties. Some might be in the ghettos, some might be in nice areas. Like pick what you want.
Yeah. And that's what we started with, is we just would buy it, anything that we could to hold on to. And, as we worked through that, we started learning, okay, some of these properties and, these nicer, a little bit nicer zip codes are, our collection of rents do better. Typically we don't have tenants that are, thrashing our properties as much. And, just overall appreciation is, better in some of those areas. So, that was not, I don't want to act like we were super smart in doing that from the beginning. It was kind of like banging our head on the wall of some bad tenants and bad property situations. And okay, let's sell that and roll those funds into a deal that's in a better area where it's going to make more sense. And so, that's kind of trial and error there. But, now we've kind of gotten into more of our sweet spot of what we want.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's anything like Pittsburgh. So like up here, say in a nice neighborhood, we'll get like $1,400 a month rent. And then you can buy a property up here for like 20 grand in a ghetto that will pull like $1,000 a month rent.
So that sounds good.
It sounds great, except that $30,000 property in 20 years is still worth 30 grand. So it's kicking you off cash flow. But yeah, like you're saying, like the tenant issues and everything, it's just freaking nightmares.
Oh yeah. So for us, one of those things that we used to buy more of was manufactured and mobile homes only on owned land. We want to make sure they owned the land. And the reason being is they cash flow really well. We would, we'd buy some of those on creative finance terms where, we're maybe making a payment of like $400 a month and we're renting it for $1,200, $1,400. And it's like the cash flow is great. But the thing that we've learned, and so we still have a few of those left, is they have a lot of finicky things that happen, like manufactured mobile homes, like just stuff's always breaking in those, is, just one of the things. And it's like, it sounds really good on paper, but the quality of tenants and then the, actual construction of those types of properties aren't always the best either. Yeah.
Now you guys managing all your own stuff?
No, not anymore. Oh my gosh. So I wish I would have not given myself as much brain damage with this, but, initially it's like, I think this is just the nature of being, an excited entrepreneur of like, I can do this, and so at first it was myself and then Pace's wife, Laura, where we would do the management, where she would be the agent that lists them and gets them on the market. And then I kind of help out with some of the, paperwork and some of the things and, tenant issues and those sorts of things. And so did that for the first year of holding, and it was miserable. Actually, probably about a year and a half. It was pretty miserable. I'm like, I hate this. And then so rebelling of, I don't want to hire a property management company because they're not going to do a good job. We are like, we're just going to hire an internal property manager. So after hiring and firing a few of those people that promised a lot, didn't perform the way that we expected them to, we got to the point, and this was actually the beginning of last year, because with COVID and all the moratoriums, we had a few tenants that were taking advantage of not paying rent, and we're paying these mortgages, and our property manager couldn't do anything, and it was so frustrating. And so we got to the point where we're like, screw it, let's just sell all of the rentals. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But then Pace and I had like this one swing of like, what, let's just go see if we can get a good property manager that's an outsourced company that could just take this off of our plate. And we did that. They have their own little quirks and issues here and there, but it has been significantly better. Quality of life shot up significantly since we decided to do that. So no, we do not do it anymore ourselves. I wouldn't recommend it unless you like brain damage, or maybe you just got it figured out more than we did. And that's okay too, but we're super stoked now having property management in place.
Yeah. And you know why? That's huge. I did property management for a first couple too. And I hate property management. That is like,
it's the worst.
I hate showing places, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're right too, because it's in your head. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to hire someone. I'm giving the first month, 8%, 10%, whatever it is. And you're looking at it. It's like the freedom it buys and then the time that it gives you back and your sanity. Yep. You're going to make more money doing other stuff and you're going to feel better about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I think people have to think about is, people are looking at what it costs them that they're paying somebody else to do something. And a lot of times they aren't auditing that. And this is something that I was having a challenge with property management was, what could I be doing with that time? Could I be getting a higher return on my time investment? Is this a task that, is going to equate to what I'm trying to reach in an annual income? If somebody's trying to make $1 million a year, I mean, you're typically going to be needing to be doing tasks that are $500 an hour tasks. And is managing this tenant situation that high dollar of a value activity? And so typically it's not going to be. And so I think just, as entrepreneurs, that's something that we always have to be looking at, is like, where am I spending my time and what's the return on that investment for that time that I'm spending as well?
Yeah. And you know what, too? I even noticed when I was doing property management, it was just one of my weaknesses. Like, I'd meet with people, they would talk me into renting them. I'd hear their story and I would buy
the sob story.
Yeah, I'd buy the sob story, I'd rent them and then learn the hard way. Oh. And I found that, like, with the property manager too, now you're just looking at paper. It's just, hey, here's the person, here's their credit score, here's their background. Do you want to rent to them? You don't have any of that emotion in there, which is huge.
Yes. It's just, there's no story. It's just very black and white. Like, get an application. Yeah. Like you said, the credit score, income, delinquency history, few of those things. And it's like, perfect. Amazing. Yeah. That sounds great. Get them in. I don't want to hear their story. Don't tell me about their story.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a really good points on that. So now, how are you guys finding your deals? Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. So it's kind of segued a lot, as the market changes, you have to change, right? In the initial stages a few years ago, a lot of the deals that, we'd be sourcing came from, primarily texting, cold calling. My first deals came from driving for dollars. But now we've kind of gotten to this point where, we've really focused on building a brand and building a network of other investors that are doing deals, and then agents as well, where we have our team doing a lot of outreach to agents and our team doing a lot of outreach to other investors to be able to send those deal opportunities to us. Because for us, we're kind of at a stage now where we don't really care to, be the biggest wholesalers in the world, or, do a freaking 20 wholesale deals a month. We'll wholesale the stuff that we just don't want to buy. Like, the purpose for our real estate investing business now is to buy stuff to hold or buy stuff to flip. And so, direct to agent is a big piece for us. JVing with other investors is a big piece. And then we have, a small team that are, still doing some text marketing and then cold call marketing as well. And so those are really the main ways that we get, those direct to seller opportunities, is from those two. But we focus a lot of our time on, the relationships, because those continuously, they're kind of like that residual effect, is if you treat those relationships good, you can get multiple deals a year from them. So, and it's very low cost as well. So that's where we've kind of, stepped into more as of lately.
Yeah. Now, what are you seeing with your relationships with agents? Are you seeing they just have like the pocket listings that just need too much work to put on the market, and they're like, oh yeah, we can reach out to Cody?
Yeah. That's a lot of times, what it'll end up being. And, for us, we'll get creative with them too. It's like, if the agent, brings us the deal, depending on the deal, if it's competitive situation, we'll let the agent get paid up front. Obviously on the listing agent commission, they can represent us as the buyer or work that out with their seller however they want. If we're competing with other investors that they also know, we'll offer them a piece of the back end of the deal if we flip it too. Like, hey, we'll give you 25% of the profit on the back end, on top of you getting the commissions on the front end, if you bring this deal to us. So we try to incentivize them in different ways where they can get paid a couple times on the same deal and make it really easy. So that's a big piece of that for us. And, some of the relationships that we have, we'll give them even 50% of the back end of the flips if they're a continued relationship that they're bringing deals like on a consistent basis, like every couple months we get a deal from them. So we just try to make it really easy and like a no-brainer for people to bring those deal opportunities to us, because we have a good system of turning those flips and not taking a lot of bandwidth from from myself or Pace, and we just have our team handling that. So we're able to do some of those more creative, opportunities for those agents than some other people that are just trying to lock it up with the agent and then wholesale it to someone else.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense too, because a lot of times people nickel and dime with the person bringing them the deal. If you make sure they're fed and happy, they're going to keep bringing you more deals.
Yep. Yeah. And we're happy to, make 70% of the profit on it, or 60% or 50% even, worst case, because we know we're going to get more, and it didn't cost us marketing money. Like that's what some people, when we've had people criticize, like, you're giving away too much of those deals. It's like, well, we would have had to spend the money on marketing. So it's kind of, we just kind of look at it as that's part of our marketing cost.
Right. Yeah. It's a huge points there. Now you guys have Start Virtual also, where you do VAs. Tell me a little bit about that.
Really, Start Virtual came out of this world of our business was running it still is today, with a lot of virtual assistants. I mean, from a few years ago, I had virtual assistants that were doing text marketing and, generating leads. And then we had virtual assistants doing cold calling and generating leads. And, kind of at that stage, it's like, okay, well, now we were getting all these leads. We need help managing those leads. And every time that we were hiring US based lead managers, they were inconsistent, or, had excuses or whatever reason. So we ended up, being able to source a couple lead managers, on our own, that were able to, take that load of what one was doing here in the US, and it was more cost effective for us. So, we had lead managers, and then from that point, we're just able to tee up opportunities from those lead managers to, convert those into contracts. And so we were doing that for probably over a year. And we just had a lot of friends that were asking us, hey, can you help us get VAs? Like, we want to have more, we want to reduce some of the overhead costs that we have with some of our US team members, and, get some affordable assistance. And so we just kind of played around with the idea of like, maybe we could do that. We had a great, guy in the Philippines that, had a lot of, operational experience in that industry. And so we said, what the heck? Let's start formulating something where we can help support people, because it's something that we're constantly getting asked about. And then we started the company back in 2020. It was literally February 2020. We're like, we could do this and help people find, cold callers or whatever else. And we weren't going to start the company until like that summer. And then COVID hit the next month, and we're like, let's start the company now and get things rolling now, because we don't know what's going to, change in the market. So it's better, what better time than now? And so, started at that point, now just about a couple years in, we're currently serving, it's pretty exciting, over 500, clients that Start Virtual, and, from cold calling for real estate, or, doing text marketing for clients, lead management, admin or systems, tools management, any of those tasks that can really be done from the computer, we're helping serve people within the in real estate industry, and then a couple other industries as well.
Okay. And you guys are a little bit different than most places too, because like every time people are thinking about VAs, they're like, oh, I have to reach out to someone. I have to go through 20 of them. They're not going to work. And I have to try to find that person. You guys kind of work like almost like a marketplace, and pair them and help train, don't you? To take that, some of that legwork out of the way.
Yeah. Because the thing that we looked at was, when we first started the company, people had the same needs that we did, because that's what we needed in our business too. And so essentially what we did was, we're like, okay, well, obviously the training that we did for our team is working for in our current business and our personal business. So what we did was, we just brought everything over to Start Virtual of, okay, how does our process work for cold calling? That's what we train all our cold callers to do. And we put these people through boot camp to, they have to be able to pass, tech checks. There's so many of the little granular details that people don't think about. Like, okay, well, what do you do? How are you checking your virtual assistant's technology, their Wi-Fi? Do they have backup Wi-Fi? If there's, storms, do they have, are they able to have your dialer program run on their computer with two other programs open at the same time without it crashing? There's so many just stupid little things that you learn getting started with virtual assistants. And so we kind of just, pushed a lot of those things out of the way for people, where they can just get, they can get started. They're able to interview their VA that, had to go through a month of training, a month of boot camps, a month of, tech checks, them showing up, through that training, through that entire period of time. And so they're having people that had to go through, some barriers to be able to get the opportunity to be paired with a client. And so, and that was, a big thing for us, is we want to just be able to, help make that an easier transition for people of getting a virtual assistant, especially for people that have never hired, hired anyone. Probably a lot of people that, hire virtual assistants, they've never hired a US based team member, let alone, a virtual assistant, in the Philippines or, anywhere else for that matter.
Yeah. Now, and you're right. Yeah. Cause the hiring's hard as it is.
Yes.
Let alone hiring somebody that you don't even know on the other side of the world.
Yes.
What kind of tasks, like you said, texting, cold calling, like what kind of tasks would a VA be good for? Like, can you elaborate on the different things? And then also what types of things is it not good to use a VA for? Like some things it's like, you know what, it'll be really good for these types of things and really not good for these types of things.
Yeah. Well, so I would say the things that they crush it with, I mean, in our business, and look, this is the thing that I tell everybody. Sometimes when you hire somebody, that first person does not always work out. Sometimes they end up not being a culture fit. Everybody has a different personality, right? So it's like you have to, some of those things happen within working with virtual assistants or US based team members. They have to be a right culture fit too. But what I would say is on the cold calling side, that is, that had been kind of our bread and butter over the last few years within our real estate business is, they're cold calling and generating leads to put into our CRM. I mean, that's been something that's just been a staple of our business for years now. So that's one of the big pieces. One of the other pieces that, people don't really think about as much, but this is something that takes a lot of time, is the systems and administrative tasks. Like our VAs crush it at the admin tasks and like the systems related tasks. And here's the thing is that people need to really understand is, again, if you look at how much money do you want to make a year and you backtrack that over, what that equates to for the dollar per hour that you're spending on whatever task. So if you're trying to make, whatever amount of money, say that's $100 an hour, $150 an hour, but you're the person that's updating these things in your CRM, or you're the person that's, sending out these emails to title, you're the person that's, doing these minutia of pulling data, cleaning up data. You're literally doing $5 to $10 to $12 an hour tasks when you, as the owner of the business, should be focusing on how do I do those, whether it's $100 an hour, $200, $500 an hour activities. So that anything that you can start auditing within, the work that you're doing and segment to, this is probably not something that's worth the amount of money that I actually make to be focusing on this. So where admin and systems things come in is for those real estate investors that are, maybe doing 2, 3, 4 deals a month and are finding themselves being caught up in the minutia of those administrative things that, they have to be done, right? Like your data, you got to organize it. It has to be, cleaned up. You got to update the stuff into whatever marketing campaigns you're doing, whether you're doing mail, you're doing cold calling, texting, like whatever you're doing, like somebody needs to help update that. We would have them update the KPIs in our business because we all know salespeople are typically not the best at updating their KPIs. They're typically, a little bit more squirrely and, unorganized. And so, we had our VAs be like assistants to the different team members so that they can, go in, see the calls they made, put those down and help track some of those things. So I'd say they really crush it on those systems and admin tasks because they're going to be, more accountable than even I would be. Like I found myself, I'd update my KPIs this week. I would, if my schedule got thrown off, maybe I don't update them for another week and a half. And where the VA just goes in and they just handle it and take care of those things. So I would say a lot on those pieces. And then lead management is another piece that is super helpful because they're not there to try to close the deal, but they're there to help ensure whether it's you doing the sales or you have somebody on your team doing the sales, just to warm that relationship. Like literally all we see them doing in lead management is warming up that relationship and kind of just, bringing that cream of the crop, basically pass the baton over to, whoever's going to be doing that sales call to actually try to convert that into a deal. So those are just a few of the things that, that they do and are super proficient and able to, help with a lot in different people's businesses.
Okay. So basically, if a real estate agent or investor or anybody take a look at what you're doing and pretty much audit the tasks that you're doing and see, okay, which one of these are lower level and you could potentially push them off to a VA and train them to do those kind of things to free up your time to do the more important things.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I would say when, just on the topic of real estate agents is, when I was working as an agent, from 21 to, 23 ish, when I was doing that, I ended up hiring an admin assistant in person, US based. And she was, making about $3,500 a month. Plus she got some little bonuses on closings and things. So basically around $4,000 a month. And had I known this before with virtual assistants, I just didn't know that much about virtual assistants at that time. I would have totally hired a virtual assistant for, $1,500 to $1,800 a month. I would be working full time doing all of the same tasks I had my assistant doing, because I had him just doing all of the computer work. I had him helping just kind of organize different graphics. Like I had postcards that were going out to current clients, past clients, and then, people, farms that I was prospecting and, having them organize the orders with the mail company and doing literally all the things that could be done by a virtual assistant. I was just paying double the price for, and I would have been able to have an extra $2,000 a month in my pocket to either take home as profit or to be able to invest in getting more deals for my business. And so that's where, there's a big impact of, if you can save $24,000 a year in cost, like what could that do for your business? If you can get a 3x return on the money that you're spending, and you're able to turn, $24,000 or $25,000 into an extra 75 grand, it's like, you said, it starts making you think different.
Yeah. 100. Now what type of hours? Say you're working with a VA, they're on the other side of the world, time differences. Like, how's that work? Are they working US times, or how's that work there?
In the Philippines, which is where most of our virtual assistants are, we do have some that we are working on, hiring in Mexico to start having bilingual Spanish speakers. That's something in the works right now. But in the Philippines, they're typically used to working at night. The main export for the Philippines is their workforce, their labor force. And so call centers, I mean, if you're calling Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, a lot of the major banks, you're speaking to somebody in the Philippines most of the time. And so they're that being one of their biggest workforces, they're working US hours. So their call centers, they're opening up at midnight. They're opening up in the middle of the night. And where most people are having to go commute in the middle of the night, literally a lot of people commute 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and they're doing that in the middle of the night in the dark to get to some call center facility to work, work for these different companies. All of our virtual assistants work from home. So, we're able to have a little bit more stability and safety, because, for those that don't know much about the Philippines, it isn't always safe to travel an hour and a half in the darkness in areas where it's not as developed and there's higher crime rates and things like that. So yeah, they're used to working at night. A large majority of the population in the workforce in the Philippines works at night. So that's just kind of like a standard thing, that people are expecting to be doing, is working nights to support businesses in the United States and, other in Canada and, places like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good to know. What else? Do we cover everything on that, or is there anything else you think on the VA side?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, when it comes to virtual assistants, obviously I'm, biased where, I'm part of the ownership of a virtual assistant company. But for those that are, considering hiring a virtual assistant, I would say, if you're looking at Start Virtual or any, virtual assistant company, it's, getting started sooner than later is super important. Especially, I would say that, the best fit, the best type of people that get the most out of hiring virtual assistants are the folks that have a little bit of a business already established. Maybe you're 6 to 12 months or more longer into being into business. You're getting regular deals on a monthly basis. Maybe you're not doing, gangbusters and doing tons of deals every month, but you're getting a couple deals every single month and you have consistent revenue. We find that those clients have the most success because they have, a little bit more of things figured out, and they understand like how kind of the flow of their business works. And so just kind of understanding that, and, then from actually the people that want to scale their business and get, pass off some of the tasks that they're doing, those are the people that, get the most out of it. Sometimes the people that are like brand new and they're like, I don't even know what in real estate, typically not the best time to hire a virtual assistant when you're just so green that you don't even understand what your business is. You don't really have a business yet. We do the best at serving people that have a business and that want to scale their business.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? That's a good point too. Cause a lot of people getting into business do it backwards. Like, oh, I need to do this. It's like, no, you need to get your first couple deals first and figure out how your business is going to run before wasting time on other stuff because you're not ready for it yet.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that's, something that you do over at Motivated Leads is, helping people understand whether they're going to be a good fit to work with you or not. And, that's something that, it's important. And those people they're going to end up spinning their wheels if they're, just go and start blowing all this money on, whether it's systems. I mean, it seems like the real estate folks are like, kind of like, they're looking for that easy button of like, I hit the easy button. I get leads from this company and now I'm a millionaire. I'm rich overnight. But it's like, you have to learn the business. Like, you need to know how a real estate transaction flows. Like, you don't need to know all of that to get started, but to scale your business, you gotta start understanding the different dynamics of the business.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, say somebody's interested in seeing if Start Virtual and a VA would be good with them. What are the best ways to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as getting started with a virtual assistant, you can go to startvirtual.com. I'm sure that, maybe you could have in the show notes or somewhere, link for more information, around Start Virtual and what that kind of looks like. You could also, if you're just kind of trying to understand and maybe you're at those more beginning stages of like figuring the business out, you could always check out my YouTube as well. Just type in Cody Barton on YouTube. And I do a lot of free content around just different aspects and stages of real estate investing, talking about virtual assistants, giving you some insight on when it might be the right time to hire one. So if you're kind of in that researching and, gathering information stage, that could be a good place to go. My partner, Matt Beard, has a lot of content on YouTube around virtual assistants as well. So, if you're in those, information gatherer stages, that would be a good place. If you're like, I am ready to get this going right now. I need to scale my business. I already have a business, I'm sure in the show notes or somewhere, startvirtual.com, and you can set up a call with the team and see if it would be a good fit.
All right, cool, man. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes for everybody so you can, they can just click through. That's about all the time we have. Anything else we missed, or we pretty much cover everything?
I think we got everything, man. I mean, appreciate you having me on. And, I would just say for everybody that's, listening in, real estate's not a get rich quick, but it's a get rich for sure. And, just getting committed to the fundamentals, getting committed to the basics and commit to the process of, making this business work and, sticking to, that plan, over the next 3 to 5 years, you can change everything. It's not what about you can do in the next couple months, because it feels like sometimes things aren't moving, but over the next 3 to 5 years, what you can do, you can change everything in your life with real estate. So appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, well, thanks for coming. And then, we'll have you back on again to talk about some other stuff.
Awesome. Sounds good, Bryan.
Hey, thanks, man.